Poor Unova Dragons, they seem so much weaker compared to the Generation 9 Dragon Restricteds. However, we're going to be trying out two of them, Kyurem White and Zekrom, and seeing how well, or not well, it may perform. This is a Gen 5 Restricted Duo combination team. Let's break it down. First, we have the Life Orb Kyurem White with the Turbo Blaze ability with Freeze Dry, Draco Meteor, Fusion Flare, and Protect alongside the Terra Fire typing. I think Kyurem White is one of the stronger Gen 5 restricted Pokemon, mainly because of the fact that it has an insane base 170 special attack stat, one of the highest in the game in general, surpassing Calyx Shadow Rider even. Able to do a lot. However, its speed stat isn't the greatest. 95 speed stat is not really what you want for a powerful restricted mon that's trying to be your sweeper. And the defenses, it's not bad. 125 base HP, 90 defense, and 100 special defense. Of course, it does have the ice typing, so that means it is pretty weak to a lot of common types. It's able to do a lot of damage with the Freeze Dry and Draco Meteor from the same type attack bonus, and Freeze Dry, of course, having that added ability to hit water type super effectively as well, which is a very big pleasant thing. And then Fusion Flare, the idea of this team is to hit with Fusion Flare and Fusion Bolt. If you don't know how the moves interact, basically, if you go for them on the same turn, the second mon that moves after, basically whichever one of Fusion Bolt or Fusion Flare goes second, will get doubled in power if used on the same turn. So it doesn't have to be directly after, it just has to be on the same turn. So you have the Terra Fire on the Kyurem White. This is to help out against the Terra Fairy options from like Miraidon Dazzling Gleam and Fairy type moves in general like Moonblast and Play Rough from Zacian, as well as the Steel type move from Zacian. So the Terra Fire just helps against Zacian because really need it when you're running double dragon restricted. So you do need an answer there, and just powering up the Fusion Flare felt like was pretty nice in general. And you might notice on this team, I do have 29 IVs on Kyurem White. That wasn't intentional, actually. Originally, I just happened to get a Kyurem from a friend who happened to have 29 HP IVs. And if you do have the max 31 IVs, you actually go with a 200 stat, and that actually makes you take an extra damage hit from Life Orb. So I thought, you know, there's not really any relevant calc, so I might as well just keep it that way. And yeah, we'll see if that actually matters or not. EV spread is pretty simple. We're going with max special attack, we're going with max speed, and we're going with the remainder in defense. Overall, Kyurem's just supposed to do damage realistically, and I was debating about either timid or modest. I just decided to go timid because might as well just have as much speed as possible. You outspeed Adamant or Shifu if there is no Tailwind up. And under Tailwind, it allows you to be able to outspeed like the booster energy mons like Speed Booster Fluttermane and Iron Bundle, while Modest would make you underspeed those. Next Pokemon we have is the Loaded Dice Zekrom with the Terra Volt with Fusion Bolt, Scale Shot, Tailwind, Protect, and Terra Fairy as its defensive typing. Overall, this Zekrom, man, it just feels so weird to look back at Zekrom, and now you have Miraidon out, and yeah, it's just so tough. But we're going to try to make it work. We have Loaded Dice with Scale Shot because the idea is to get the Scale Shot and Tailwind support from the Zekrom in order to have speed control, because the thing is, Zekrom and Kyurem White are not the fastest restricted Pokemon out there. So you want to have the ability to outspeed Pokemon so you can get the Fusion Flare and Fusion Bolt combination. Hopefully, that's just my theory. So beat speed control really badly. And the way I'm doing that is by going for Tailwind with Zekrom and Scale Shot, because Scale Shot allows you to get knockouts, threaten Miraidons, and then you have Tailwind, so you can help make the Kyurem White and Zekrom actually move before opponents, because again, its speed tier isn't that great. And then just draw off hopefully the Fusion Bolt and the Fusion Flares, but you could also just go for strong attacks with Kyurem and Zekrom as much as possible. The EV spread here, wasn't sure if I was really going to be going with a Jolly Nature Zekrom. It does allow you to outspeed, for instance, Calyx Shadow Rider if you do go with the Jolly Nature. But the after a Scale Shot at least, but the problem is it just does no damage. And then you also lose out on bulk, because Zekrom at least has these in bulk. Base 100 HP, base 120 defense, and base 100 special defense is decent. So I thought, you know what, I want it to be bulky. I'm pairing it with Incineroar. I kind of need it to stick around on the field because it is my mon that is setting up Tailwind, and I probably need multiple Tailwinds throughout the game. So I just decided, hey, I'm going to go with bulk in general. The EV spread allows it to outspeed the base 135s after one Scale Shot, and if I'm facing Calyx Shadow Rider, I'll go for Tailwind, and then I'll +2 speed, so not the biggest deal in the world. And it's kind of cool with Scale Shot because I could also go for Scale Shot with Zekrom, and then Fusion Bolt, Fusion Flare speed order, depending on the Kyurem White, actually changes. So In some games, maybe I'll want the Kyurem White to move second and get the bigger, powerful Fusion Flare off. So I could go for Scale Shot with Zekrom to outspeed and go for the Fusion Mode and Fusion Flare that way. Otherwise, Kyurem White will go really strong Fusion Flare for the initial hit, and then Zekrom just gets powered up with the Fusion Bolt afterwards. So I thought it was a pretty cool idea that could potentially work and get the combination attacks off. But yeah, otherwise attack stat for the jump point with adamant nature, so it's still doing a decent amount of damage, at least with its base 150 attack, and then just a bit of bulk, the remainder going to HP. That gives it a number divisible by 16. So if there is grassy terrain that I had to deal with, hey, at least I'm getting an extra health point of grassy terrain every time that happens. Next Pokemon we have is the Assault Vest Incineroar with Intimidate, and Terra Bug is a defensive type with Flare Blitz, Knockoff, Fake Out, and U-Turn. Terra Bug is just very useful when there is Calc Shadow or Zamazenta running around on the field. So with the Assault Vest, you're able to take the Astral Barrage even if you Terra, and then you resist a Body Press afterwards. So I think it's one of the better Terra typings out there. The Assault Vest just allows the Incineroar to be able to tank attacks, and really that's kind of very helpful, especially when Zekrom and Kyurem White have like very strong weaknesses into the Fairy type moves. So just having a way that can pivot around is pretty nice, and just being able to stick around on the field as long as possible. With the Incineroar, you have Fake Out support to help set up the Tailwind with the Zekrom, as well as the U-Turn support, so you can try to get into Kyurem White next to the Zekrom under Tailwind, and then again go for the combination attacks. You have the EV Spread here, which is adamant, so it can actually still do damage because Flare Blitz and Knockoff will do quite a bit, and U-Turn doing chip to like Indeedee, Rillaboom, as well as like some Shadow Ice around Terra Dark, for instance, can actually be very helpful. But overall, you still want a massive amount of bulk, so you're pretty much running a lot of HP, a lot of physical defense, and then some special defense, but Assault Vest kind of makes up for it, and then for speed, because you don't really need speed. I could have it outspeed something under Tailwind, but really I want the Kyurem White in safely, even if I go for Tailwind with Zekrom, because that would double the Incineroar speed stat. Then go for the U-Turn, I want it to be a bit slower still. Next Pokemon we have is the Iron Crown with the Booster Energy and Quark Drive, giving it a speed booster with the Terra Dark as the defensive typing with Expanding Force, Tachyon Cutter, Calm Mind, and Protect. So I still think that the Calyx Shadow Rider plus the Zamazenta can be very tricky to set up, just because of how strong Shadow Rider, Astral Barrage, and Body Press Knockout pretty much just get a KO. So I wanted something that can maybe be able to tank that on a bit better. So I thought about the combination of Size Spam with the Iron Crown plus Indeedee, and I felt like Steel types, like Iron Crown is probably one of the best Steel types that you could have that's a non-restricted, which is important. Again, double Fairy weeks because of the dragon. You need an answer to Flutter Mane. Iron Crown is probably one of the better answers. So I do have the Tachyon Cutter, and with the Size Spam, you also have the Psychic Terrain, which means you can limit the damage from a Rhydon, especially the Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam that would just destroy your entire team otherwise. So this is a nice way to help it. And the Calm Mind allows me to set up in front of the Shadow Rider, the Rhydon, get a Calm Mind up, and be able to take attacks, especially with Terra Dark if it's the Shadow Rider variant, because I could go for Follow Me, Calm Mind with Terra Dark, and then Helping Hand, Tachyon Cutter at +1 would be able to KO Calyx Shadow Rider through Focus Sash, as well as like Expanding Force would be able to do a ton of damage to Zamazenta. So yes, that is the main reason why I had this Terra Dark combination with it. And then EV Spread wise, you're pretty much going for max speed with a Timid Nature, so you can get that speed booster, and the special attack is a few points lower than the speed in order to have that speed booster, and then the remaining just goes in HP. I have 177, which is a number that is a number divisible by 16 and a +1. So you are able to get maximum amount of grassy terrain recovery, as well as a +1 for Ruination and Super Fang calcs, because 51% versus 50% can actually change some damage calcs. And overall, yeah, it's just supposed to be able to do a lot with the Calm Minds, be able to set up against Pokemon Zekrom and Kyurem White to have a bit of trouble with, and pretty good against Miraidon, which is very helpful here. Next, we have a standard Indeedee to pair up because we need Psychic Terrain, Psychic Seed with Psychic Surge, Terra Fairy, Psychic Follow Me, Helping Hand, Trick Room. Pretty much just get the Psychic Terrain. You have Redirection, a normal type that can switch into Shadow Rider, Astral Barrage, and a mod that can help the Trick Room matchup, because we don't have a way to reverse Trick Room. And I mean, we have mons that are slow, but they're not like really slow. So a good backup there that can help pair up with matchups, again, to counteract the fake outs that could help to stall out Tailwind, as well as set up for the Iron Crown Expanding Force, lower that damage from Miraidon too. I think it was just a good pair on the team. Psychic is just able to help out damage the Pokemon like Amoonguss, like the Urshifus in general, and Koraidon too. So I kind of like having Psychic as the attack here. And otherwise, following Helping Hand Trick Room is pretty standard. Max defense entity with the Psychic Seed. I don't think I need safety goggles because I do have Kyurem White and the Iron Crown to threaten heavy damage into Amoonguss, so I don't think it's the biggest need for having safety goggles. So Psychic Seed just to be able to switch in and take attacks better. Max defense, of course, for certain strikes from Urshifu, and then for special defense, but you do have the Psychic Seed that's just able to boost it. And I am running 31 speed IVs on the entity because I'm not needing min speed entity on this team, but I also don't need fast because I also want to make sure that I'm underspeeding most Riolabooms, so I get the Psychic Terrain if we do lead entity and Riolaboom on my opponent's side. I do want to make sure that I do get the Psychic Terrain up. Final Pokemon we have is the Choice Scarf Urshifu with its Unseen Fist ability with Terra Water as the typing with Surging Strikes, Close Combat, U-Turn, and Coaching. Now it has max attack, max speed, and 4 HP with a jolly nature over an adamant nature, which is a bit surprising, but I think Chiyu is pretty annoying to the Iron Crown with speed booster. So I thought, you know what, if I do happen to fight Chiyus, and a lot of them do run modest, and sometimes they run timid, but they only outspeed like modest Chiyus, guess what, I'm timid. I outspeed, I threaten the KO on the Chiyu, and then Iron Crown's a bit safer. But also, like, Chiyu's just a bit annoying to my team in general. I don't have like the best mons to deal damage to it immediately. I mean, Zekrom and Kyurem White will, but I do have to deal with a very powerful heat wave. So I wanted an answer to that. I wanted coaching, which I thought could be cool next to Zekrom, because you could go for like Scarf coaching with Urshifu into a very powerful scale shot with Zekrom, which I thought is nice with its high defense. And yeah, I think a revenge KOer for Shadow Rider is pretty important. So Pokemon that just outspeed Shadow Rider were on my list. So having the Rapid Strike Urshifu with that Choice Scarf is, I think, the best mon that I could have here, and it also helps out against ground types as well that Zekrom cannot touch. And Landorus Incarnate is definitely a scary mon for the team because I do not have anything that outspeeds it initially. So Urshifu was added to the team to help pair with that matchup. It's pretty simple. Like Water Urshifu is just a really strong mon. Unseen Fist is broken because it hits to protect. Coaching for the Zekrom, but also U-turn for pivoting. Close combat to be able to hit the dark and normal type attacks, or the dark and normal types, and especially like Shadow Rider Commentara. And then Surging Strikes is just able to do a lot of damage. Nothing much to say. So how to use the team? You have a few different modes. The main one is, again, trying to go with the Kyurem White and the Zekrom. You go for like really strong attacks with the Kyurem White. You try to set up Tailwind with Zekrom, utilizing Scale Shot for a speed advantage, as well as the fake out support from the Incineroar. And then you try to go for really strong damage with your Pokemon under Tailwind, ideally. Or you also have this other mode. You have the Iron Crown entity. Iron Crown's actually able to set up and do pretty well against a lot of teams if you position it right, because that speed booster makes it a big threat. The Psychic Terrain Expanding Force is pretty big. And then Calm Mind Iron Crowns, if this thing gets set up and just destroy teams, especially if they're not prepared for that speed booster. So you can outspeed Miraidon and a bunch of other mons, so it can actually put in a ton of work against those. Otherwise, you do also have like some good offense. Urshifu Zekrom is a good combination. Incineroar Kyurem White can do quite a bit. You also do have Incineroar Iron Crown, which you could leave, which is great because Intimidate, Fake Out, Calm Mind, and then switch to Entity. Just a lot of different combinations that you can mix with this team. If you would like to check out the details of the team, they'll be linked in the description down below. And let me know in the comments, what would you do to fix the Generation 5 restricted Pokemon? Because Miraidon and Koraidon are just kind of insane upgrades, although I guess Koraidon's not an upgrade of Reshiram. I still think it's just absolutely absurd, like how Zekrom and Reshiram got really power creeped by those mons. So let me know in the comments down below, because I think they could use a bit of a buff. Sneasler, Miraidon, Kali, Shadow, Chiyu, Dundozo, Tatsugiri. This is the Pearl second place VR team. I wonder if it's the same rental. We've featured this on the channel, so I'm kind of curious. I have good answers to like the Dozo stuff is the question, because Mold Breaker, well, it's funny because Mold Breaker breaks unaware, but I don't have any setup. Okay. I mean, it's Assault Vest Miraidon. Do I go thinking it's my spread though? I'm not 100% certain. Chiyu's really tough. Chiyu Calyx is really difficult. I think I'm going to do Zekrom lead. Zekrom Incineroar seems pretty strong to me for the most part. I do like it. Yeah, I like Zekrom plus Incineroar. I think it's pretty good for the most part. In the back, Kyurem plus... Am I bring Ursh or am I bring Indeedee? I think I need Indeedee to get rid of Terrain, but we'll see. It's a little bit of a tricky matchup because I just don't know which mode they're going to rely on. Are they going to rely on Dundozo or are they going to rely on the others? Because if they rely on offense, I don't think it's too bad because my Tailwind offense actually kind of beats it if I set up Tailwind and get the scale shots right. Alright, on Sneasler's not too surprising to me. Okay. I don't know if they're going to go for Draco Meteor or not is the question. I feel like the best play is just to protect switch to Indeedee. Which is pretty safe. I could trade Fake Outs, but it's not really worth instant taking the damage. I think I'm just going to go Indeedee. The problem is they're probably going to get the T-Spikes up in this matchup, so I gotta figure out a way to brute force this quickly. However, I think this is alright. Bring out the Indeedee. I could Trick Room too. Trick Room's also an option I do have. Psychic Seed. And Protect. A Dire Claw. Is this Dire Claw Draco? No, they just Volt Switch, which is cool. Okay, I get to see which mode they have, and depending on that is going to be really crucial on like I want to figure this out. Do I want a Psychic? Okay, they brought the Chiyu. Good to know. All right, I feel pretty good about this actually. Because the Chiyu doesn't run Dark Pulse. It's Snarl. So I think I'm just going to go for a Scale Shot into the Chiyu. And I'm just going to fire off a Psychic. Yeah, I don't mind that. I go for a Dire Claw. Into Zekrom. I take it pretty well. Okay, nice. And a Snarl. Okay, perfect. Very good. I do get the Scale Shot off into Chiyu. I get a critical hit, but it really depended on how many hits I was getting with the Scale Shot. Like if I got a 5-hitter, it didn't change anything, but it just actually didn't matter. Was 4-hitters just going to get the KO anyway? Well, I get the KO on Chiyu and I get the KO on Sneasler. No Toxic Spikes up. That's massive, but Shadow Rider is probably in the back though. That's my concern. Although I think I'm looking pretty good with my Zekrom. We do get the Psychic off into the Sneasler, which is going to pick up the Knockout. It's really going to come down to how well I can play around the Shadow Rider, because the Shadow Rider is super threatening. I think I should have probably Tailwinded before, because I wasn't Yeah, I should have Tailwinded. Scale Shot was a mistake. I would have rather had Chiyu on the field so I could get the KO on it. Okay. But they saw I had Scale Shot, so the Miraidon probably is forced to... I mean, they don't know my Zekrom speed. That's the thing. I can go for Protect. I sack Indeedee here. There's no Terra. They are really confident in Zekrom under speeding. After the Scale Shot boost, okay. Astral Barrage. What move are they locking themselves into with Maraudon? Well, no, it's Assault Vest, so they can't lock themselves into move. Here comes the Electro Drift to KO the Entity. Critical hit doesn't matter. It's so tough. I gotta go Incineroar, but the question is, what happens this turn? Like, where's the Terra coming from? Does the Shadow Rider protect? Or does it attack? Does the Miraidon go for Terra? Or does it not? God, this is so difficult. I think I do want a Tailwind with Zekrom. So if the Cali Terras, I want to click Fake Out onto it. But if it doesn't, I'd rather just click Knockoff. And when I click Knockoff and Tailwind. Oh, wait, what? They click Encore. They didn't Terra this game, so I get the Shadow Rider KO. Okay. Electro Drift into Instant, but that's not going to KO the Instant. Because I did have Assault Vest. And Knockoff KOs the Cali. Unless... Okay, yeah, they didn't change the item. So Cali goes down. It's Miraidon left. I mean, this is still actually kind of tricky. So this is Electro Drift into Instant again. Okay. I'm switching on to Kyurem and clicking Protect with Zekrom. Did I get to Protect last time? I mean, I'm pretty sure this is going to be Electro Drift. If they click Gleam, they got me, but I don't think you're clicking Gleam here. I think you're clicking Electro Drift. They have refused a Terra, which has surprised me this entire time, but it works out. They Electro Drifted my Zekrom. Oh, they anticipate to switch there. Wait, that's really good for me. It's gonna come down to Kyurem in the end game. There's 2 turns of electric terrain left. Okay. They should go for Gleam here. I don't know if they're gonna go for Terra Fairy Gleam. That might KO Instant. I think I just go for the protects across the board. Actually, no. I should just Terra my Kyurem here. And Freeze Dry. Yeah, I should Freeze Dry. Because they Terra Fairy now, exactly, yeah. So the reason I decided to go for this is because they have to go for Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam. They have no other option. If they go for Electro Drift to KO my Kyurem on a read, then I could go Instant and I could click Fake Out plus Fusion Bolt, and that should win me the game. If they take the knockout into Zekrom here with Dazzling Gleam, then that's fine because I get a good hit off into the Miraidon with Freeze Dry and then Fake Out Fusion Bolt into another, or not Fusion Bolt, Fake Out Fusion Flare. And then I'll probably do enough damage because they can't get a double knockout because Gleam does nowhere near enough damage to the Kyurem, especially when terrain wears off. So yeah, Kyurem's able to tank it. Okay. Oh, this was such a shaky endgame. I should have Tailwinded. I really regret going for Skill Shot on the Chi, but this works. Actually, Freeze Dry did a good amount of damage. Does Fake Out Fusion Flare just KO? It might. This Fusion Flare is a lot stronger than Freeze Dry. Yeah, it's the last arrow Electric Terrain. Now I can go for Fake Out. Plus the Fusion Flare. And that should KO Miraidon. If it doesn't, I get a Flare Blitz Fusion Flare off next turn, and then I guarantee to win. So, not what I expected, but thankfully we were still able to win. As the Fusion Flare will KO the Miraidon. No boost necessary. As goodbye Miraidon. Alright, awesome. We did get the Fusion Flare, Fusion Bolt. I think we could have if I actually decided, hey, you know what? I could have just went for Tailwind instead of Scale Shot, because sometimes I just keep forgetting that Shadow Rider is just so absurd that I didn't decide to Eevee my Pokemon to be Shadow Rider with Scale Shot. Maybe that's something I could have invested. Actually, I would have to go Jolly Zekrom. That's the problem. I think you have to go Jolly Zekrom. Actually, no, Zekrom. No, Zekrom's base 90, right? What is this? Venusaur, Koraidon, Zacian, Whimsicott, Walking Wake, and Wheezing. What is this matchup? What is this matchup? Okay. This is so weird because the Wheezing... I don't think the Wheezing itself is good, but the fact that neutralizing gas is good against my team is the problem. Because Wheezing doesn't really do much to my team when you think about it, especially since it's not Galarian Wheezing. But the partners can. However, I think like the other partners that they have are just better. I'm curious how this is gonna go. I could go into the Iron Crown and set up Calm Minds. Not bad. I don't think I need to though. I think I would probably just want to go with Zekrom and Incin lead. I think Zekrom Incin's pretty fair, because it covers like a lot of potential leads. And then I think I do want to cure him in the back with Indeedee. There are a lot of ways I could approach this matchup. I think Urshifu is the only mon I'm like, I never bring this because it doesn't do good against the team. Iron Crown is a decent mon. However, I want to try the Double Dragons out. And the Double Dragons do have potential here. Like I need to set up with my... I need to set up a Tailwind or a Scale Shot Tailwind situation. So I do need Zekrom to lead here and get that speed control up. This is going to be tricky because the Wheezing. I just don't know if the Wheezing is going to be a problem or not. Also, I'm kind of curious on the item on the Koraidon, because if you're Wheezing, it could be Ability Shield on that. I don't know. Whimsicott Zacian? Okay. Don't mind that one. All right, we get Intimidate off immediately in the Zacian, which is really good. I don't know if it's Sash Whimsicott. I do want to play around a Focus Sash here. I think my safest play is just to protect my Zekrom and go for a U-turn into Whimsicott. I don't really see how they super punish this. They could go for Sacred Sword and Moonblast, I suppose, into Incineroar. That's okay. Swords Dance is the dangerous one. They have Sub. That's actually really scary, but they do risk me clicking Fake Out on the Zacian and getting a big attack off with Zekrom, as they don't know my set, so I think it's pretty safe to just protect. Okay, they attacked with the Zacian's Play Rough. I don't think it's Sacred Sword on the Zacian on this team, but we'll see. That one comes out. They did go for the Play Rough. Beautiful. All right, we got to figure out some maneuvering, but I think this is okay. I do get the U-turn off into Whimsicott. Can I just Trick Room with Indeedee? Can I Trick Room with Indeedee to win? I think I could. Because what's stopping a Assault Vest Instant from clicking Flare Blitz against their team? And Psychic 2 with Indeedee? Like, I got my Psychic Surge up, so Wheezing doesn't matter as much anymore. Yeah, like, what's stop? I think I just go Incineroar, and I think I just click Trick Room. I don't see a problem with this, and then maybe I could set up a mid-game or late-game situation with Tailwind, Zekrom, because I could get Tailwind on the final turn of Trick Room. It depends on how the rest plays out. I think the important part, though, is just getting Incineroar in and clicking Trick Room. As I get another Intimidate off into the Zacian, Play Rough is just not doing any damage. Now I threaten huge Flare Blitz and Psychic damage into whatever comes in. Most likely I'm just going to target down the Whimsicott slot, but yeah, I feel pretty good here. A Encore in Psychic Terrain. A classic. The Human Blade into the Indeedee. Groon comes out. I can go for Helping Hand Flare Blitz, but I think my best play is to knock out the Whimsicott and prevent speed control from coming out for the rest of the game. I think Flare Blitz into the Whimsicott and Psychic is pretty safe. Yeah, I just don't see anything they can switch into here. Like Walking Wake takes a ton of damage. Koraidon goes down probably. Venusaur goes down. Wheezing goes down. Yeah, they have no switch in for the Flare Blitz Psychic play. And Zasha's not doing too much damage where I have to worry about it right now. It is a threat, don't get me wrong. But I do have Terrifier on my Kyurem to handle it later. So I think this is alright. It retreats Zacian too, which was very likely. If this is Koraidon, I get a Flare Blitz and a Whimsicott, and then the Psychic gets redirecting to Koraidon. So this is also another reason why I decided to double up the wins, because it didn't have any downsides. Unless it's Protect, but... Okay, perfect. Flare Blitz KO to Whimsicott. Goodbye, Whimsicott. They gave me the Sun, so the Psychic is gonna hurt. The Koraidon. Oh yeah, that damage is beautiful. All right, who's coming out? Because something is going down to Venusaur, sure. I don't care if they knock out something with Koraidon. I just don't want sleep hours happening. I'm just going to double up the Venusaur. If I get rid of Venusaur, I feel really good about my late game situation. Also, there's a chance that Venusaur doesn't run Protect because they might be like Sleep Powder 3 attacks, so I always go for it. If Koraidon goes for a fighting move and gets a knockout, sure, I just get a free switch into like Kyurem. And Kyurem gets to wreak havoc, especially next to Indy that can still click Psychic with no downsides. Or I could go out into my... No, I would always go Kyurem anyway. All right, no Protects. Flare Blitz going to come out into Venusaur. It does reveal its Focus Sash, which is cool. And Psychic. All right, Venusaur goes down. I'm feeling pretty good about my spots. But the Koraidon click, Collision Course, and Instant. Yep, perfectly fine. All right, they have to reveal their Terra with Zacian. And Peter's out. We go out and Kyurem. They still have Terra. I can go for... I mean, I don't see a reason why I don't just go for Terrifier Fusion Flare into the Zacian and a Psychic into the Koraidon. Like, what does Zacian click here? Probably has to KO the Entity, right? There's 2 turns of Trick Room, so I think I'm okay. Let's go for Terrifier Fusion Flare and Psychic. I could also Helping Hand here if I expect a Koraidon to Protect. I don't think that's necessary though. I'm trying to figure out if there's like a way I guarantee win, because if they double Protect here, I mean, the only way I see myself in a really, really bad spot is if they get a double Protect. But yeah, I'm just gonna Terrifier Fusion Flare the Zacian, because they will guarantee the KO if they don't Terra. Also allows me to resist Behemoth Blade and Play Rough. And if they're Terra Ground, they just go... Do they go down? I mean, this is Terrifier and Sun. Oh. Okay. No Protects? No Terras? No chance. I mean, if the Zacian... I'm kind of curious on like if Zacian can survive this if they have a neutral Terra. Or does this Grass Terra? It makes sense too. But Zacian just went down. Beautiful. I mean, they had Protect place they could have went for it. They just chose not to. And then I was just able to wreck shot with Trick Room, Kyurem once they got Tailwind expired. Also, like Instant Terra was really good too. Well, not Terra, but under Trick Room with Entity, Psychic Flare. That's sometimes you just don't have a switch. Zacian, Kyogre, Urshifu, Tornado, Xianpao, and Rillaboom. All right. There is the Kyogre, which Zekrom, very big fan of. However, there is the Xianpao and the Zacian, which not a big fan of. I do want to bring the Zekrom, which is going to be important here. I think Zekrom and Incineroar are going to be really important. In the back... I'm debating about bringing Crown with no Entity, which I think could work. Because I like having grassy terrain and I don't really like having psychic terrain on this. I do want Kyurem in the back. I think I do go Iron Crown because I need a mon that sponges up attacks from Zacian. And realistically, the only ways that they can really break through my Zacian or my Zekrom are the Shien or the mons that they have that can break through Iron Crown don't do well against Zekrom. So let's see. Gonna be a bit of a tricky one to maneuver, but I think we have tools. Urshifu Rillaboom's fine. Yeah, actually, no, this is perfect because I led Incineroar and Zekrom's in a great shape. There's no way they close combat, right? I need Incin so I don't lose to the Zacian immediately. I think my best play is just to go for a... I think it's just Scale Shot the Rillaboom and go out into Kyurem. Because I'm worried if they go... I don't want to trade Urshifu for Incin if they fake out the Incin. Yeah, I'm going to go Kyurem. I have a feeling this is probably Scarf Urshifu. Well, yeah, I think it should be Scarf Urshifu on this team. Because it should be Sash Pow. But it could be a Life Orb, I suppose. Fake out. Yep, they're going to go for that trade. Yep, that's exactly what I thought. Oh, that's a slow Ursh. Why is it slower than my Zekrom? Okay. Wait, why are you slower than my Zekrom? I do get the Scale Shot off, which is massive. Why is the Urshifu slower than my Zekrom? I guess it's bulky Ursh, which means it gets freeze dried. They did go for the surging into the Incin like I read. Okay, perfect. Nice. Very nice, very nice. Okay, then you shouldn't be Sash on the Urshifu. That means I should be able to get a free Tailwind up with Zekrom. The Rillaboom probably retreats. I don't know. This is kind of a weird spot because the Rillaboom can't really switch into something safely. I mean, I think my best play is just his Tailwind Freeze Dry. The Urshifu slot. They could detect and U-turn, but I think that's all right. Yeah, because I do get the Tailwind up, and because I get the Tailwind, I'm in a good offensive position still. Freeze Dry goes into Protect. I could have got a Scale Shot off so I could outspeed this Zacian the next turn, but I still think that this is still a pretty decent position. All right. So Zacian, yep. Curious on who they target because they also have to respect the fact that my Kyurem is actually a huge threat to them. Is this Urshifu switching out into Rillaboom? I feel like I should Fusion Bolt the Ursh, but I think it could switch out to Rillaboom. I'm debating about doing an instant play here. I don't hate it. It's not the most ideal, though. I could also take knockouts, I suppose. Like, if I get rid of Zacian, it might be really good. You know what? I think I double up the Zacian. I'm going to go for Fusion Bolt, Fusion Flare into Zacian. Nice. They retreat a Rillaboom. I don't know if that means they protect the Zacian, but that's okay if they do. Nice. All right. They protect, which is cool. All right. So do they have Substitute? I don't know if they have Substitute. If they have Substitute, this makes the game interesting. I think I'm all right. I kind of want to get the big Intimidate into Zacian. Yeah, I'm going to get the Intimidate off into Zacian. Because this is going to be a cycle where they fake out, do something with Zacian, and then they're going to go for Protect to stall out the lesser Tailwind. So I like the idea of getting instant in, so I can Scale Shot the Rillaboom, pin that slot, and then have Zekrom can get another Tailwind up. And I think that's massive in this matchup. I also get to scout for their Terra. So we revealed a Terra on the Zacian, which is good. Okay, what Terra are you? Terra Ground. Okay, it's weak to Freeze Dry. Everything on their team's weak to Freeze Dry now. So perfect. That means it should be Terra Blast and not Protect, which means I should have a guaranteed win if I set this up properly. They fake out. Terra Blast? Oh, Behemoth Blade into Kyurem. Okay, that makes sense because Kyurem was the massive threat. Excellent. Okay. I need Zekrom to hit the Scale Shot ideally just because I want the speed boost. So I go for a Scale Shot into Rillaboom. And I fake out the Zacian. If they retreat Rillaboom, whatever's coming in, like Urshifu is still taking a bunch of damage, which is cool by me. Kyogre is taking a big Scale Shot. And they protect Zacian. Okay. Okay, this is perfect. All I need is to sack Incineroar and get in my Kyurem, and then I think I win the game. That's good damage to Kyogre too. I just want to figure out if this is Scarf Kyogre, because figuring out if it's Scarf Kyogre is going to be kind of big. All right. Does Iron Crown go down to Water Spout? I kind of hope it does, because I think I would want to set that up. Oh, it's Leftovers Kyogre. Okay, that's super easy to deal with then. Okay. I think I just go for Protect U-turn then. Because if they Origin Pulse... I don't think Origin Pulse knocks out Instant and Rain. We'll see. They go for Terra Blast, which is cool. They read it, but it's... I mean, this doesn't really get them anything. That's a problem. If they may be retreating to Rillaboom, sure. Okay. It doesn't matter if you hit or miss. Okay. So now I'm in a fantastic spot to just get a Freeze Dry. Also, we confirmed Terra Ground, Terra Blast. I mean, yeah, it's most likely it was Terra Ground, Terra Blast, but I mean, I just secure it here. As we go out in a Kyurem, we click Tailwind and we click Freeze Dry into the Zacian slot. So that's what we need to do. Tailwind, Freeze Dry. Let me double check to make sure. Yep, Tailwind, Freeze Dry. We're faster than Zacian because we have 2 speed boosts thanks to the loaded dice. If they protect switch, it doesn't really change much. It can only go out in a Rilla, and even then, like, they're still in a really awkward spot because I can still threaten the Rillaboom slot with Scale Shot and get KOs. So, yeah, they just have very awkward positioning. Looks like that's what they're going to do. Because they don't have sub on Zacian. If they had sub on Zacian, this could maybe be manageable, and I would have to make some harder reads, but I don't have to make any hard reads with this. This should be Protect. Yep. Then I double Protect on their turn. Then I go for Scale Shot, Freeze Dry. Like, there's only so many mods they can sack, right? There's only so many mods they can sack. Okay. I mean, if I had Indity, I could go Indity and just click Freeze Dry, but I'd have Iron Crown instead. How risky do I want to play this? I think I think Scale Shot Freeze Dry just has no downsides. Yeah, it has no downsides. Because as long as Zekrom can just pin the... or just always get Tailwind up and Kyurem can do whatever it wants, I think we're in good shape. So let's go for Scale Shot and Freeze Dry. I'm gonna be forfeit. Man, at least let me get my attacks off. At least let me get the KOs. I mean, sure, I was pretty much always gonna win. I think the only way is like if I miss Scale Shot or Scale Shot is 4 hits, doesn't KO Rillaboom, they would hammer crit my Zekrom. Then maybe I lose. Like, they had technically chances to win. But like, I always just go for the safe freeze dry into Zacian, because even though it's pretty obvious that they go for protect that turn, like, do I risk it? Like, there's a guaranteed loss if they don't. So if they don't protect and they get the KO into my Kyurem, so I don't think it's ever worth the risk. And I can't Terra Fire my Kyurem for safety just because of the fact that Urshifu's in the back with Aqua Jet. So, man, I wanted my KOs, man. I want my KOs. Like, I did win the game with the dual restricted, but it's not satisfying without the KOs. Ditto, Ogerpon, Heartflame, Zamazenta, Incineroar, Miraidon, and Fluttermane. Okay, Fluttermane is going to be tough. They don't have the best answers to Iron Crown. However, I'm not sure if I'm bringing... I mean, I need to reduce the damage. They don't have Farigiraf, which is good. Stuff Fluttermane's difficult. Fluttermane's really difficult for me to handle. Especially if it's Speed Booster. Oh, I want to go with the Kyurem Zekrom. I want to really try to use this mode. I really do. I think it's possible against my opponent's team, but it's like really tough. I think I'm going to go with Incineroar Iron Crown. I think it's an okay lead. And then in the back, I'm going to go with Zekrom and Kyurem White. Yeah. So Zekrom or Zamazenta is a bit tough. I mean, a lot of things are tough for Kyurem, plus the Unova Dragons are just really tough to use. There's so many things that threaten. Body Press is going to do a lot of damage. Not really concerned about Ogerpon or Incineroar too much with what I'm bringing. I'm a bit concerned about the Fluttermane and the Miraidon, though. It's really Miraidon that I have to check here. So let's see what they decide to bring here. Zamazenta and Incineroar. Okay. Not what I expected. As I lead Iron Crown. This is not what I anticipated at all. Terra-wise, I'm probably Terra the Incin, even if I don't like it. I'm gonna go for a fake out into the Zamazenta, and I'm just gonna Calm Mind, I suppose. I was just not expecting... Okay. I was just not expecting Zamazenta to lead. I get a fake out off. I get a Calm Mind. They're not going to fake out because I do have the Psychic Terrain. That could be brought out. Let's see who the Incineroar decides to go... What the Incineroar decides to do. Parting Shot? Knock off. Oh, I had my boost energy consumed, so it doesn't do that much. Okay. I don't really need Iron Crown. It's not super important. I think I'm just going to go for Terra Bug U-turn into the Incin. And I don't know. Here's the thing. I would always body press the Crown Slop, but I'm not sure. I think I'm just going to protect Iron Crown and Terra Bug U-turn. Because I can't really let my Incin go down because I need resources around. So I can stall this out. I think trying to get the free switch into Zekrom is probably the best call here. And I'm hoping that they double the Iron Crown slot with like Parting Shot and Body Press. Okay, they target the Incin, so I could have Expanding Force, which is unfortunate, but okay. I do get a U-turn off. It is same type attack bonus, so I get more damage, I suppose. Alright. Bring out my Zekrom. And then Incin, what are you clicking? Flare Blitz, okay. I wonder if Tachyon Cutter Scale Shot gets the Incin. I feel like it might. Oh, it's leftovers, okay. I was like, what item is that? I really hope that leftovers isn't going to affect any calcs, but I am going to Scale Shot and I am going to Tachyon Cutter. Because getting that speed boost is nice on my Zekrom. We're going to see a Terra come out from my opponent's side, which is interesting. I don't know what Terra they're going for. Zamazenta Terras. I mean, that works out for me. It's not weak to freeze dry. I'll gladly take that. And fusion flare. So I'll gladly take that. I guess they were scared of earth power if I had it. Okay, I get the Tachyon Cutter off into Ensign. It doesn't do as much as I was hoping, but a 5-hitter scale shot might KO the Ensign. Body press. All right. Ooh, it looks really close. I think that leftovers actually might make it need a 5-hitter. Yeah. Oh, can we get the 5-hitter? Okay, nice. Nice. Okay, we get that, which is actually really important because now Tachyon Cutter is threatening the Flutter Mane if they have Flutter Mane. And now I have a +1 Zekrom that's in position to threaten a heavy amount of damage. They also can't tear Miraidon anymore, so Scale Shot actually always threatens Miraidon, which is super cool. All right, they bring the Miraidon out. They can't Terra though, so I can Scale Shot. Why did they bring out Miraidon? Is this a bait? But Ogerpon was safe if they had it. I'm gonna double protect the Scout? I didn't protect anything, right? No, I went for Tachyon Scale Shot. I just am curious on why Miraidon came out, if anything. They stay in. Alright. They Volt Switch my Iron Crown. Is this Scarf? Maybe it's Scarf. Maybe that's why they're going for this. Body press, okay. I think I always go for Tailwind, and I think I always go for Calm Mind. Yeah. So, Calm Mind, do I live a Volt Switch after this? I actually have no clue, but I think I want Tailwind so I get Kyurem in a good position. This could definitely be a mistake here, but we'll see. I'm hoping I survive. Well, I'll never find out because they crit me. That's a bad crit. I'm actually curious. I'll do the calc, I suppose. But I actually think that might be a game-losing crit, unfortunately. If it didn't matter, then there is that. But I don't think that KOs because I was healthy. And I have a decent amount of bulk. What's funny is Ditto comes in though, and it's not in a great spot. So at least there's something. But I think I lose in the long term, but we'll see. All right. Bring out the Ensign, bring out the Kyurem. How many turns of electric terrain are there? Couple. I guess I should fake out the Zamazenta and freeze dry the Ditto. Yeah, that works. Wait, they stayed in with Zamazenta. If I went for like a Flare Blitz into the Ditto and Fusion Flared, I think I won. Okay, Ditto goes down though. Oh wait, can I just win with Kyurem? I might be able to. Also, I have not done the calc on the... Okay. Volt Switch from Miraidon in electric terrain. Yeah, that crit mattered. Max special attack doesn't even do half. Yeah, so it mattered. Okay. I just freeze dry. Does freeze dry guarantee the KO onto Miraidon? I am actually not sure. I think it does. I want to say I go for either, because I think I could win the game with my, I think I should Draco to be safe. I think I Flare Blitz the Zama and I Draco the Miraidon. Well, I missed a Draco. Unlucky. Also, my Incineroar was faster than the Miraidon. Under Tailwind, which made no sense actually. That means it's bulky Miraidon, which I guess Draco is to play then, because I probably KO Sulfest Miraidon. Yeah. I think we were in good position. I'm really shocked that my opponent gave me outs, like the Fusion Flare opportunity to KO the Zamazenta. But missing the Draco. Like, here's the thing. I think I actually win the game if I hit the Draco, because I'm pretty sure then I could U-turn Flare Blitz the Zama and that would pick up the knockout. So that's just unlucky. That's just unlucky. But that is how it goes sometimes. That is how it goes sometimes. Could I played the early game a bit better? Probably. I mean, they crit me too. So like, there were just a lot of things. Like, if any of those don't happen, I'm pretty sure I have a really good chance to win. But unfortunately, it wasn't the case. Zamazenta, Calyx, Shadow Rider, Raging Bolt, Dragonite, Urshifu, and the Galarian Weezing. Galarian Weezing's not exactly an easy one here, okay? I do like Incineroar a lot, though. Incineroar is good. Incineroar Ursh is actually a pretty good combination. I don't dislike it here. I could also do Incineroar plus Zekrom, which also makes sense. I think I'll do Zekrom plus Incineroar. Yeah, it seems pretty good. Urshifu back and Kyurem, I think. A lot of this game plan is trying to get Tailwind up. I don't know if they're going to bring the Weezing. I do not know if they're going to bring the Weezing. The problem with bringing the Shadow Rider comp or the Iron Crown combination, because I do normally bring against Shadow Rider, is it doesn't get the speed booster because of the Weezing, so it makes it a very awkward spot. We're going to see Shadow Rider Weezing, it looks like. Yeah, that's fine. So it should be Encore Shadow Rider, which I am okay with dealing with. So do I want to go for Protect or do I want to go for Tailwind? I think there's no drawback to going for Tailwind knockoff. They switch out Weezing. Huh. Okay, Terra Volt's active as well as Intimidate, although it doesn't really affect it here. I guess I could have went for Protect knockoff, but this is okay. Zamazenta comes in. I'll take it. All right. It just Astral. Okay, that's actually pretty good for me, I think. Yeah, Zekrom actually takes it really well. I do get the Tailwind off with the Zekrom. And I think I could go for Terra Bug Incin. Yeah, Terra Bug Incin seems pretty good. Okay. So I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot. I don't know if I can set up a good end game, but I think this works out. I think I'm just going to Fusion Bolt to the Cali. And I think I would just U-turn into Ursh. Yeah. Maybe Protect the Cali, which makes sense. All right. They go for Body Press. Wait, they're faster than my Incin. Okay, they have speed. That hurts, but... Ooh. Ooh. This is one of my favorite parts of this. Okay, Kyurem comes out. But the problem is I didn't go for Scale Shot. If I had Scale Shot, like the thing is Fusion Bolt is the boosted one, not the Flare. I feel like Zamazenta with Terra. I'm not 100%. I really just want to click Fusion Bolt, Fusion Flare though. My Terra is good. Yeah, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to go for Fusion Bolt, Fusion Flare with Terra Fire. They switch out, so this is Wheezing. That's Dragonite, right? Okay, I ignore Multi-Scale and get a Fusion Bolt, which is actually still pretty good. I think I'll live an Extreme Speed from the Dragonite, assuming it doesn't Terra. But we'll figure it out. Bring out the Kyurem. They just protect. Okay. I wish I Scale Shot, but I was worried if they switched out into Wheezing instead. But that's all right. Fusion Flare gonna fail into the Zama. And we go for the Fusion Bolt. That's good damage. I want to read them to Terra to Zamazenta so badly. I want to read them Terra to Zamazenta so badly. Is it worth the read though? Because I'm trying to think. This is probably Extreme Speed double up, but I'm not sure which slot they're going to target. I think I Scale Shot to Dragonite. I really want Fusion Flare. Or I really want to click Draco. I think I'm going to risk it. Okay, they retreat that slot. Oh, this is bad. Wheezing? Okay, wait, that's not as bad. Okay. Is this Terra normal E-Speed into Zekrom? I think that's what they're going for. Okay. Oh, all right. I can still very easily win this, but it's a lot less likely now. You go for Extreme Speed. This is a Zekrom. If we survive, that would be huge, actually. No. Okay. I wish I Fusion Flared instead. I really wish, but we go for the Draco Meteor. Fails into the Wheezing. We do have a Scarf Ursh. Zamazenta Terra Dragon Mind Games for getting me here. I go for Surging Strikes into the Dragonite, and I go for Fusion Flare into the Wheezing. You're gonna go for Extreme Speed into one of my slots, into Ursh. That makes sense. That does so much. Okay, if we one-shot the Wheezing, I think we win. If we one-shot the Wheezing, we win with Fusion Flare. I'm really regretting not Fusion Flaring the earlier turn. Or Freeze Drying. I should just Freeze Dried. But I was like, does Freeze Dry even KO Zamazenta with Terra Dragons? Like, I didn't think it did. I think it would have been close, but I don't think it would have been enough. If we KO the Wheezing with Fusion Flare, I think we win. So let's see. It's a Life Orb Fusion Flare from a base 170. Wait, I think we win. I think we win. Oh, that's crazy. All right, abilities are active. I can now hit the Shadow Rider with Surging Strikes. We know it's Focus Sash, so it goes down it. And then I get the Fusion Flare off into the Zamazenta. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Kyurem White. Actually too strong, man. Maybe I should have just went for Freeze Dry. Maybe it would have KO'd the Zama if it Terra'd. Like, I had to play the mind game if it was going to Terra normal Dragonite or if they were going to Terra Dragon the Zama. But I guess it was like less likely that they Terra Dragon the Zama because I had 2 Dragon types out. But Surging Strikes, the Kali. Fusion Flare, the Zamazenta. Goodbye, Kali. All right, don't crit me. Don't crit me. Oh, crit didn't even KO. Oh yeah, because they switched out. They don't have the defense boost. Yeah, okay. Perfect. Fusion Flare into the Zamazenta. Goodbye, Zamazenta. Oof, so satisfying to one-shot the Zamazenta. Oh, okay. Maybe not my best, but then again, it is just a bunch of mind games and getting to call rights because I don't have the... Again, like, the Unova Dragons don't exactly have the most leeway in a game. They don't have powerful spread boosts or anything. We were able to get big knockouts with Kieran White, which was the crazy part because that's exactly what we needed. I'm still shocked that it was Zazama was faster than my Incin, but I guess that makes sense on this team because it doesn't have much speed in general. Calyx, Shadow Rider, Sneasler, Dundozo, Tatsugiri, Chiyu, and Miraidon. This is the team that got second place at the VR tournament. I'm pretty sure we have played this team, but we haven't. The problem is I think this is a different order, so this is not a rematch. And this is going to be confusing because I got to figure out how I'm going to approach this matchup. I think the game plan was fine if I just tailwinded with Zekrom. I think lead-wise, Zekrom is correct. Is it Zekrom plus... Did I bring... I think it's Zekrom plus the Incineroar lead again. Entity plus Kyurem didn't seem awful to me. I do like that. I just got to make sure I tailwind instead of scale shot if they bring the offense mode, because I need a way to make sure that I outspeed the Shadow Rider, which is important. So that is just going to be the case. They might be leading the Sneasler Miraidon. We'll see. But I do like the idea of just going for a protect tail or protect first turn. Sneasler Miraidon, not surprising. I do get the Intimidate off into the Sneasler, which is big. So this could be fake outs that we could be trading. Again, Entity is a switch I'm very, very tempted to go for. I kind of like the idea of going for the tail. I want to use my Tailwind turns as wisely as possible. So I think my best play is just to protect and swap to Entity. Let's see. I think it's still the same turn one play regardless. Like, it's kind of rough. I want to see what they decide to go for here. But Entity does seem pretty safe. Are they going to Draco turn 2 is the question? I feel like they would Volt Switch out, but we'll see. I want to risk Zekrom is the question. Because I do kind of have to make a bit of hard calls against this Miraidon because it can actually switch moves. Most likely, unless they change the team. Fake out goes off into the Zekrom. Okay. They Volt Switch. Okay, that's not too bad. So Shadow Rider is going to get in. But I don't think that's awful. Because they're just going to Astral Dire Claw, right? Yeah, here comes the Calyx. I mean, if they Encore, that's not even that bad for me, realistically. I could also just go Instant and Trick Room. Which actually, why don't I just do that? Because they have no way to punish this. I don't see a problem with going for this. I'm going to Trick Room, go Instant, threaten to knock off, and then Psychic as well. Because unless they... Because this covers an Encore from Shadow Rider. This covers Astral Barrage. They go for T-Spike, which is absolutely fair. And they went for Astral. Yeah, perfect. I could have Tailwind Psychic, but I think this is better. I think Trick Room actually might be a better line here. Nice. And we get Trick Room. Beautiful. I don't see a problem with just going for a knockoff into the Calyrex, and I go for a Psychic into the Sneasler. Actually, I feel like my best play is just to double up the Sneasler because the Sneasler might retreat into like Miraidon. They protect, so this doesn't really change anything anyway because I was going to knock out the Sneasler regardless. So I think that works out for me as I do get a Psychic off into the Sneasler. So Sneasler goes down. Yeah, no, I actually like this a lot. Because the Shadow Rider is pretty heavily threatened right here, regardless. They're probably going to go out into Miraidon. Oh, Chiyu comes out. Surprising. I want my Entity to go down. Do I go for... I think I Helping Hand Flare Blitz or I knock off the Miraidon. The switch. I think it's just Helping Hand plus Flare Blitz. Okay, they do retreat. I should have Helping Hand knocked off, but I still think that this is pretty reasonable. I would like them to knock out the Entity so I get the free swap. That's like what I really want. I want the free swap from the Entity into like my Zekrom in the endgame. So let's go for a Helping Hand. Get a Flare Blitz off. Actually, pretty good damage to Miraidon. Oh, they have Dark Pulse. They're the old set. Also, that they gave my Entity, which is kind of sad. Okay. I'm going for a knockoff into Miraidon. And I'm going to go for Tailwind. Or not Tailwind. Follow me. Actually, can knock off Psychic KO Miraidon? I think it does. I'm willing to go for it. All right. Get the knockoff into Psychic. Goodbye, Miraidon. Perfect. All right, I gotta think about this a little bit. So Entity goes down, which is perfect. The T-Spike is up. I think I go Zekrom. I go Zekrom. As Calyx comes in. Does Fusion Bolt KO the Chiyu? I think with Electric Terrain it should. Is that worth the risk? I think so. It's the last turn of Trick Room, so I think they protect to stall it out. But they might go aggressive here, and I feel like I should never let them get aggressive plays off. So I think I do go for... I think Fusion Bolt KOs, because like 5-hit scale shot's 125, right? Fusion Bolt with Electric Terrain should KO the Chiyu, I think. Unless they have bulk on the Chiyu, or they change the item. I'm going for it. They do protect the Cali, okay. If Fusion Bolt doesn't KO the Chiyu, I might actually lose here. And then the best play would have been the Tailwind. But I think Fusion Bolt and Electric Terrain KOs. Yes, okay. So we knock out the Chiyu, and now I think the Calyx is screwed here. Because now I knock off the Calyx, I protect. Yes. They're gonna go for Terra. Terra Dark, most likely. Knock off into Flip. Oh, Terra Ghost. I mean, this works out huge for me. Okay, so they changed the team. I don't think I screwed myself over. Let's see how much instant takes from the attack. Astral Barrage. Okay. So I get a knockoff into the Kali Shadow. There's no way this KOs my Incineroar. Okay, yeah, there's no way they can win. Especially after I get rid of their Life Orb. I don't think crit knocks out Incin. Oh, and they just fainted a knockoff anyway. So, guaranteed to win there. Ooh, okay, okay. Trick Room Entity. I'm so glad because this team doesn't technically look like a Trick Room team, but I think Trick Room is kind of nice against Tailwind stuff because I'm not able to have Tailwind. Might as well get Trick Room up. And we were able to get some pretty good positions with the Incineroar next to the NDD, which was pretty good. I pretty much always just directing KOs left to right. Because they were Terra Ghost and not Terra Dark, I had more leverage to just focus down the other slot because they had to protect because they had no Terra that bailed them out. If they had Terra Dark, they could maybe play around the situation, but because they didn't have Terra Dark, was so much easier. Getting the KO on the Miraidon too with the knockoff plus the Psychic was huge, especially with the Beats of Ruin combo. And then Zekrom finishing off the Chiyu, so Incineroar wasn't as threatened by the Calyx Shadow Rider, was pretty massive. All right, let's go over the games. The Sylvanus Miraidon is actually very tricky because I can't go for like a pin knockout with Incineroar plus Kyurem White into the Miraidon, so it becomes very difficult, especially if they can switch up moves, so that was a bit of a problem. I think I should have went for Tailwind immediately instead of Scale Shot, even though I knocked out the Chiyu. I was slower than the Calyx Shadow Rider, and since I took damage, yeah, it was actually a bit of a problem, but thankfully was able to get the Incineroar in and was able to get that knockout into Shadow Rider, which was absolutely massive because they didn't Terra. So I was able to get rid of the Shadow Rider. It was still weird against Miraidon, but luckily with a few clever switches, was able to clean up in the end. In game 2, definitely a strange one, but I was able to get a really good position unironically with Trick Room Indity and Assaultvest Incineroar, because once I got Trick Room up after they set up Tailwind, it didn't have switches, so Flare Blitz Psychic was able to wreak havoc against their team. And yeah, that was all I really needed until I got in my Kyurem White to finish off the end game. In game 3, oh man, this was like the perfect game to get the Fusion Flare Fusion Bolt combinations, because under Tailwind I was just able to do so much, especially because Zekrom was so good against Urshifu, Rillaboom lead, as well as the Kyogre in the back. However, man, they just didn't let me get my KOs, man. I just wanted my KOs because they were just stuck in this loop where I was just able to always get Tailwind up. Sure, they could fake out pivot, but they can only do that for so long while I'm never letting the Zacian get the KO. So yeah, I mean, I would have really loved getting those KOs because I was in a really good setup, but they just forfeit because they couldn't do anything, and that made me sad. In game 4, I wasn't expecting Zamazenta to lead, but it kind of worked out for me. Iron Crown was just actually able to set up, which was fantastic. The Terra Bug on Incineroar really helped too to reposition, and then I was able to KO the Incineroar while also getting the Zamazenta's Terra, which was actually pretty good. Unfortunately, it started to go downhill because they crit my Iron Crown through the +2 Calm Mind boost, so I ended up losing Iron Crown, which was pretty bad, but still possible. They gave me chances to win. Unfortunately, I didn't take the big KO onto Zamazenta potentially, as well as the Ditto knockout on the same turn, but the position was still pretty decent as long as Kyurem was able to knock out the Miraidon, and all I needed was a Draco Meteor connect onto the Miraidon that couldn't Terra anymore. Fortunately, that missed, and yeah, a lot of luck screwed me over in this one. In game 5, this one was such a strange one. I was able to get Tailwind up, which was really good, as well as the Focus Sash down on the Cali, which was pretty big. I wasn't expecting Zamazenta to outspeed my Incineroar, but I guess it worked out. I was able to get Kyurem White next to the Zekrom. The only problem is I wasn't sure on the Terra, so pinning it was a lot difficult. If I went for Scale Shot into the Dragonite, I would have actually been in a fantastic spot because I probably would have knocked out Dragonite, and I think it would have probably been a good game at that point. However, they got me on the Terra normal extreme speed play, which was a mind game. I lost, and it was looking pretty bad unless the Kyurem was able to knock out the Weezing in one shot, but Terra Fire Fusion Flare, O-code the Galarian Weezing, and then I was able to finish off the Shadow Rider with the Scarf Urshifu, and then beat the Zamazenta with Fusion Flare. So Kyurem might come in strong in that game. In game 6, another Dondozo stuff team. However, not bringing the Dondozo, they had a few different sets, and really I was just able to get a great Trick Room off again with the Indity and go for really good offensive coverage with the Incineroar. And yeah, they really couldn't stop me from just getting huge damage. I was able to KO the Miraidon with the knockoff into Psychic as well, which was absolutely big. Shadow Rider came in the back. However, all I needed really was just a KO and a Chiyu. Assault Vest Incineroar was set up against the Shadow Rider for a good spot. And yeah, because it was Terra Ghost, knockoff was just able to KO it in the end. So how were the Unova Restricteds? They weren't bad. I mean, Kyurem White was able to do a lot of damage. Scale Shot Zekrom was just super strange because, you know, I think it was probably one of the best sets to set up the Fusion Bolt Fusion Flare. I'm so upset we didn't get that, by the way. I tried like quite a few games to try and get that combination set up, and we had one game we could have, but they forfeited before I could do it. And then that was probably the only game out of like, I think 4 hours that I tried to do with this team, because it's just really hard to set up Fusion Flare, Fusion Bolt. I mean, fire and electric aren't the best combination typings, like, so it does make sense. Like, I'd rather pin stuff with Volt Beam, which is ice and electric coverage, so unfortunately it just doesn't work out as well. But I mean, they're still strong Pokemon at the end of the day. I think Iron Crown was impressive. Kyurem White was able to do a lot. Zekrom, strange, it didn't feel overwhelming, but it was usable. And yeah, I felt like the combinations that I had were actually pretty decent. If you'd like to try out the team, the rental code is on screen. Make sure you grab it while you can, because it's only available for 2 weeks from this video. But otherwise, the details of the team is down below in the description. But of course, subscribe to the channel for more VGC content as always, because we have a lot of Regulation I videos coming up.